and gentlemen, it's RedGamingTech.com video. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Wii U's future and some comments that Shigeru Miyamoto has made on regards to online gaming as well as the Wii U itself. In a recent Q&A with the New York Times, he's was quoted in saying, "For a long time at Nintendo, we didn't focus as much as online play because for many years doing so would have limited the size of the audience that could enjoy those features. But certainly now we see there are so many people connected to the internet, it opens up a tremendous amount of possibilities." Now, quite a few people have been astounded by this statement. Because, let's face it, if you were to look at their rivals, for example, the Xbox 360, just for a moment, you'll notice that one of the reasons the console was so bloody popular, especially on launch, was because, of course, of Xbox Live and the ability to connect and play with so many people. And, okay, some countries and some areas do still have crappy internet, even, for example, in the UK. But generally speaking, most people have at least a reasonable connection now. He was also quoted to say that he's not really concerned so far with the Wii U, and he believes that I think that the Wii U still has a long future, and certainly in the short term I'd want to see it perform with probably a little more momentum. I think in the long term I'm not at the point where I'm concerned yet. Now, before any of us start to say doom and gloom at Nintendo, it is worth noting that they are certainly no strangers to hardware that initially was accepted poorly, and then suddenly started to really gain momentum. For example, even the 3DS sold pretty crap actually when it first started life, but after a while it started to build a lot of speed, and now of course is selling pretty darn nicely indeed. On regards to particularly exclusive Wii U titles, there are a number of them. We know there's 3D Mario that's coming out, of course. We know that there's going to be Zelda The Wind Waker HD. We also know that Pikmin and a new Zelda are going to all be released, as well as a number of other titles. But I think one of the issues is that the console isn't as powerful as what many people expected it to be, at least early on in the system's life. When it was first being kind of announced and people were listening to the rumors. As well as certain games not being available for it, for example Crisis 3, it has somewhat hurt the console overall. The launch day, of course, went fairly well for the system, as you'd expect, but has somewhat tapered off afterwards. And one of the issues, of course, that the system's having right now is there are not that many exclusives for the system. Satoru Iwata has even admitted that the Wii U has failed to muster the same level of demand visible at the Wii's launch, although to be fair, the original Wii sold extraordinarily well indeed. So, I could go through all the sales figures for you guys, but I'm not going to because I'm sure you guys can Google it yourselves anyway. Is this anything for Nintendo to be concerned about? At this point in the market, no. It's as simple as saying that it's still extremely early days. Now remember, the PS4 and Xbox 720 or whatever it ends up being called are going to be released in the not too distant future. By basically the end of this year, we know the PS4 is going to be available. However, that itself doesn't really mean that we're never going to see the Wii U take off. And of course there are a couple of reasons for this. One, by that point the Wii U should, in theory at least, have a pretty darn good library of games. And two, at this point there will have been a lot of updates for the Wii U, including on the dash and so on, and all this extra functionality would no doubt be well received. The problem I think that Nintendo are going to have to face right now is convincing people that the hardware is worth purchasing. In my opinion, certain games like Zombie U do look pretty nice and they do look very fun. It's just that a lot of people I know and I've spoken to and reading forums and so on, they've criticized the game extremely. And there are a couple of reasons for this. They've criticized the graphics. They've said that, hey, you know what is this? It's Xbox 360, the textures are horrible and whatever. And while, okay, that can be, a very unfair comment because Nintendo have never ever said the system is going to be, more massively better than, say, the PS3, it is still a bias that they need to concern themselves with. And to be honest with you, I was really surprised that they didn't launch the system with, say, a massive title like, say, a Zelda or a Mario, and in my opinion was a bit of a mistake on their part, but I suppose they can't launch a title before it's ready. It's just impossible. After all, they don't want the title to be, well, terrible. Now, recently you'll have noticed, if you've been paying much attention to the sales, that there have been a number of them on the Wii U, and indeed I've seen quite staggering amounts off actually, including up to £50-60, which is pretty nice. You've got to bear in mind as well that, of course, the PS4 and Xbox 720 are going to be a little bit more expensive than the Wii U, to say the least, on launch. However, I think what Nintendo have to really do right now is make sure that people don't assume that they're getting a better console. Remember, there's a difference between a console that's superior technically and a better console. They're two completely different things. And one thing that Nintendo do extremely well is produce good games. There are a few people who can complain about the quality of, say, Mario. Now, okay, you do get the odd person who says that, Mario's the same each time, and blah, 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 but to be honest with you, I think they're very weak criticisms in comparison to the fact that they are extremely fun. Super Mario Galaxy, for example, is amazing, Zelda and so on, and they are all classic titles. The problem is, ultimately, one developer and everyone's Nintendo themselves are not enough to save a system, and it really is a case that they need to make sure that they've got as many first-party games and third-party games as possible. Anyway, I find it really odd that they've not really embraced the online gaming side of things, particularly as certain games such as Mario Kart would be amazingly awesome if they really pushed the online features. Now, obviously, there is some level of online play for the systems, the original Wii and Wii U. I just feel it could have been better pushed, and that probably would have improved their position in the marketplace, possibly, or maybe it wouldn't. After all, Nintendo, you'd at least expect them to know what they, to make the right decision. But as it turns out right now, they seem a little bit uncertain themselves about the Wii U. As I've said, however, the original 3DS didn't sell that particularly well either, and even the DS didn't sell amazingly when they first were launched, and then later on, of course, they started to really battle back and, then now start to feel extremely well indeed. As I've said, however, 2013 is, in my opinion, going to be one of the most interesting years in not only console history, but gaming history. We have a lot happening. We have Valve with the Steam box, both official and unofficial. We have, of course, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox 720. We have a great new range of hardware and software being released, of course, for the PC. And to be honest with you, with that and all the Android systems, such as, say, the Ouya, it's going to be an extremely volatile time in the marketplace. And as I've said before, this is going to be really the year that a lot of people have to spin their PR and make sure that they're in a really dominant position. Regardless, hopefully Nintendo do pull back, as I really want it to be a very, very tight race between all of them. It's not good when there's just a couple of competitors in the marketplace. In my opinion, it lowers the quality of the games. Regardless, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and I will see you soon. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.